Hey there folks, Chris Waters here in San Francisco, California with a man who's been spending a lot of time in San Francisco, California, the Watch Dogs 2 version. Joining me is Jonathan Morin, the creative director of Watch Dogs 2. In order to make it an authentic place, there's a lot of different beats you need to hit. There's a lot of stuff that goes into building a city. I want to talk to you about that. And let's start with sort of the big thing, the landmarks. I mean, you got to have your Bay Bridge, your Golden Gate Bridge, your Sutro Tower. How do you go about getting those things just right?
I think one of the challenges, first of all, the Bay Area is gigantic, so it's really big. You cannot put it all into the game, so you have to pick the best spots. So I think what the team did really well is they identified those landmarks, like Sutro Towers and everything, and then they started to craft the city, making sure that we align those things properly. Because if you start cutting entire district or shrinking down to 2 streets, something that's gigantic, you don't want to make the feeling wrong. So I think they did an amazing job at looking at going into a certain area, looking at the vistas from the Marine County, where's the bridge is aligned with where we are right now, and then going on another area, and then making sure that from that area they understand the alignment with a few compromises that people could understand if they really live in the city. I think they did a spectacular job to make sure that the point of references are there, and then it gets to the street level. Well, the Golden Gate Bridge was one of the challenging ones for us. The real bridge is gigantic. So when you get from Marine County and you look at it, for us it was, okay, we're gonna have to scale up a lot. I'm not a huge fan of making big, just for the sake of making them big. But when we walked in here and look at the Bay Area and the bridge and how the vistas with Alcatraz and everything was going on, I said, okay, if we don't at least double the size of our game, it's going to be laughable when we're going to build that. We need to have those vistas right.
A neighborhood's feel isn't just the great view you have of Coy Tower, it's what kind of buildings are there, what kind of street size and traffic flow. What are the key things to sort of extracting the spirit of a neighborhood while still kind of solving the space problem?
I think one of the main thing is you need to come here. You cannot just Google map the place or look at the thing from the internet. You need to understand how it feels to walk on the streets. Because anybody can nail the landmarks. Probably the alignment is very complicated. But once you've done that, then how can you, with those modifications, still keep the soul of every area? And that was very important to us.
I want to talk to you about Chicago. You built a city there. What are the kind of big lessons from Watch Dogs that you applied when you were building San Francisco and Watch Dogs 2?
Spending more time with the people on the streets. We did interviews with people that lives in San Francisco. We talked a lot to people who were with us when we scout the areas to learn more about the vibes and the personal grudge that there's on certain people, even going to the hipsters and the techies and all of these things and the impact of gentrification and all of that stuff and hearing what people have to say about it and the different angles so we could better understand the vibes of it.
So when you talk about the people, I mean, does that inform the stuff you see on their phones when you kind of take a peek or the conversations you overhear? How do those people in San Francisco and Watch Dogs 2 differ from the Chicagoans of Watch Dogs?
Well, there's definitely into the kind of information you get into their profiler is definitely one thing, but it's the stuff they talk about. And in the second game, we wanted to go a bit more deep into the city. So we have what we call smaller operations. So we have the operations of DedSec that are the main stuff that talks about the big subject that are also relating to San Francisco a lot, but then talking about gentrification more specifically, for example, then you can get into smaller stories you can discover from the people who talk on the street, and that unlocks stuff you can dig into and expose to the people afterwards. So those are ways for us to inspire ourselves to what people are thinking at the street level of the different companies, of the impact of Silicon Valley on their lives and that kind of stuff. And that fed us a lot into our imagination.
Bleep, beep, bloop.
So I have to tell you, Jonathan, one of my favorite moments from that E3 trailer was seeing a quick glimpse of the Bushman, who, for folks who don't know, is a panhandler who sits hiding behind a bush waiting to scare passersby. How did you guys go about sort of populating your world with these very specific things that, you're not reading about that guy on national news?
Well, it's just by coming here. You just cross around these things, and YouTube is also pretty good at showing people who went to San Francisco. with the internet these days, you can also just follow people who share what they thought was cool about San Francisco. And in the end, for a game, like, we're interested in what is cool. So like the people and who are there, there's quite a few Easter eggs of landmarks, like, and also including certain persons in there. So we can actually create the sparks that you would have in San Francisco, so that people who either live there or been here could have a chance to say, hey, wait a minute, like I lived that experience, that's amazing. And those deja vu moments for us are important.
This building behind us, Ubisoft SF, place where we make South Park, Rocksmith, and where we make hot videos like this one. Having this building in the game is pretty cool for me. How did you guys decide to put Ubisoft SF in there? I mean, did you kind of have to?
That was a no-brainer. Like, I mean, if you start doing cities and start making interesting references or indirect references to companies, might as well start having a reference of your own company and have fun with your own stuff. So we have interesting stuff going on surrounding Ubisoft and Watch Dogs.
Interesting stuff. You gonna play coy about that for now?
I'm not gonna talk about that. Easter eggs is important to remain Easter eggs, or else it's not being discovered.
Very true. So if folks want to find the Ubisoft building in Watch Dogs 2, when are they gonna get their hands on it?
November 15 on PC, PS4, and Xbox.
Jonathan, thanks so much for talking about San Francisco. Really looking forward to exploring the place, seeing my own workplace, and discovering what the virtual San Francisco has to offer.